David Russell Williams enrolled in the Royal Canadian Air Force in 1987 and was soon promoted to captain by January 1st, 1991. From that moment on, he would have been addressed as Sir by his subordinates and Captain Williams by his superiors. Described as an elite pilot and shining bright star of the military, he quickly rose through the ranks and was promoted to colonel in June of 2004, while also being appointed the role of commanding officer at CFB Trenton, Canada's largest Air Force base. He was essentially in full command of over 7,000 military personnel, all of whom would have then referred to him as Colonel or Colonel Williams without exception. This would have afforded him an extensive amount of psychosocial equanimity and confidence, and wasn't exclusive to his work life. His designated title of Colonel would have been printed on all forms of identification, and every formal encounter would sanctify this military standing. A doctor, lawyer, police officer, or any other figure of authority would recognize and comply to the traditional courtesy of addressing him by his professional rank, boosting his composure and self-assurance each and every time as his elevated social standing and military achievements were accentuated for all to see. There was one exception, however, and that was the day he met Detective Sergeant Jim Smith.
You just have to see girls.
Before clarifying the psychological relevance as to why a senior detective would purposefully refrain from addressing a highly respected military commander by his formal title, first consolidate each of the elements and circumstances that led to the crossing of paths between these two profoundly dissimilar yet equally fascinating individuals. 10 days earlier, on January 28th of 2010, Andy Lloyd received a call from his mother around midday stating that his younger sister, 27-year-old Jessica Lloyd, had failed to show up to work and wasn't responding to phone calls or text messages. He immediately drove to her isolated home on Ontario's Highway 37 and discovered she wasn't there. There was no sign of a break-in, yet Jessica was known for leaving her doors unlocked, and all of her personal items were still inside the premises, including her phone, passport, and driver's license. Ottawa is known for its remarkably low crime rate and widely recognized as the safest city.
How does someone with such power and respect fall so far? Colonel Russell Williams commanded thousands, yet here we are, unraveling a monster hiding behind a uniform. The moment I heard about Jessica Lloyd's disappearance, my heart sank. A young woman, alone, her life stolen. This case isn't just about crime, it's about betrayal of trust, of authority. Let's dive into how the police started closing
Vital information. He stated that while driving home from work the night before, at roughly 3 a.m., he drove past Jessica's house and noticed an SUV parked in a field just a short distance away. He stated that he remembered feeling that something just seemed off, as it was parked in such an unusual area at such a late hour, and he had drove past the premises thousands of times before and not once seen the vehicle before that moment. Police immediately canvassed the area in question, where they found tire tracks in the field and boot prints leading up to Jessica's house. They had attained their first two significant pieces of evidence, which then became the foundation for the next stages of the investigation. Police immediately set up 6 roadblocks throughout the surrounding area and stopped every SUV that passed in the hope of finding a match to the tire tracks. They reportedly stopped over 200 vehicles over the next 4 days, yet had no luck, and were on the verge of reassigning their manpower from the roads to conduct foot patrols in off-road areas and pathways. However, at roughly 7:30 p.m. on February 4th, their luck did a full 180, as the sports utility vehicle of Colonel Russell Williams was stopped. He was reportedly polite and nonchalant about what he thought was a routine traffic procedure and was sent on his way after just 90 seconds. Unbeknownst to him, he was immediately placed under police surveillance from that moment on, as his tires came up as a complete match to the tracks found in the field near Jessica Lloyd's house. 2 days later, on Sunday, February the 7th, he received a call from police headquarters in Ottawa asking him to visit the premises for the purpose of answering questions in relation to an ongoing investigative matter. The colonel didn't inquire further and agreed to drop into the police station immediately. He reportedly told his wife that he would be back for dinner before setting off and arrived at the headquarters shortly before 3 p.m., where he was greeted by Detective Sergeant Jim Smith.
You just have to see girls. I'm just going to move your gloves here. That's a little microphone, just to make sure there's nice and clear. As you can see here, everything in this room is videotaped and audio taped. You ever been interviewed by the police in a room like this before? Or?
I have never been interviewed like this.
Oh, no? Okay.
I guess the closest to interview by NIS for top secret clearance.
Oh, yeah? All right. Well, again, Russell, I appreciate you coming in.
The gasconade is casually acknowledged, yet quickly brushed to one side by the detective, followed by the informal address to the subject using his first name. He immediately sets the stage for the interview and takes the colonel down from his elevated platform for the sole purpose of stripping away confidence. This increases the telling signs in body language and intonation when information is fabricated, and also decreases cognitive stamina, lessening the amount of time an individual can keep a facade before they essentially break.
An investigation like this, I mean, I'm sure you can appreciate it's been big news, especially down Belleville way. And, you know, obviously our approach to cases like this is that we don't give up on somebody being alive until we get evidence that they're not. So because of that, we're treating Jessica's case as an emergent situation, obviously. So we're fast forwarding things that we might normally take our time with. And that's why we're here on a Sunday afternoon. So again, I appreciate it. We're going to do a pretty thorough interview today. Okay. And the reason for that is because the last thing we want is to be calling people back again and again and again. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over a number of things, and I'm going to explain what all those are to you. Okay. I'm a big coffee guy. I don't know if you're a coffee guy or not, but I didn't want to drink in front of you. So
No, I appreciate that.
all right, go ahead.
I could definitely, are they black?
Yeah, they're just black with sugar. All right, and again, like I said, this interview is going to be very thorough. But again, I have a simple rule when I talk to people. It's I'm sure you're the same way. I treat everybody with respect. I know I ask that they do the same for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by going through what your rights are. Okay? Just like everybody else. Okay. Have you ever been read your rights before?
No.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it on TV a whole bunch of times, but that's usually the American version. So I'll go over with you briefly. Okay. Russell, just to avoid any confusion, because people do get confused when they're talked to by the police, is that you're obviously not under arrest here today. Okay. Anytime you feel you want to leave here, you feel free to do so. The door's not locked. Teresa will walk you down the lobby anytime you want. Okay.
Although the subject was free to leave at any time, there was a very subtle yet highly effective subconscious strategy set in place to try to stop this from happening. The detective has sat between Russell and the door. You will see this method utilized in almost every interrogation, as it's a subliminal message essentially telling the subject, if you want out of this room, you have to go through me.
If there's anything that comes up in our interview today, Russell, that you feel you want to talk to a lawyer about, you just let me know. Okay. And the reason for that is I want to explain to you exactly is one of 4 cases that we're currently investigating. Okay. And essentially what's happened is over the past about 4 or 5 months, there have been 4 occurrences that, like I said, that we're looking into. 2 of those occurrences occurred in September of 2009, and very briefly, they were up in the Tweed area. They involved somebody entering 2 different women's houses in the evening hours and committing sexual acts. Okay.
During 2009, there were 34 break-ins and attempted break-ins in the quiet town of Orleans, Ottawa, resulting in the theft of hundreds of intimate female garments, 1 incident of rape, and 1 incident of forcible confinement. All of these occurrences took place not far from the home of Russell Williams, who is now the prime suspect for each of these infractions at the time of his interrogation.
In November of 2009, a young lady by the name of Marie-France Comeau, was found murdered in her home in Brighton. And we believe that there was a sexual component to that crime as well.
Corporal Marie-France Comeau was a 37-year-old military traffic technician based at CFB Trenton. She was raped and suffocated to death inside her home in late November of 2009, which the colonel was also the prime suspect for at this moment.
And then most recently we have Jessica Lloyd's disappearance. Okay, so essentially when you're looking at those kind of crimes, we're looking at a number of different potential criminal charges. All right. We're looking at issues all the way from the most serious one, which is first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, break and enter with intent to commit sexual assault, forcible confinement. Okay. And so what I want to make sure you understand, and this is what we've been doing with everybody we've been talking to, is that clearly when we find out who's responsible for one or all of those crimes, they could be charged with one or all of those offenses, okay, whether it's you or whether it's anybody else, right? Absolutely. And that's why it's important that we make sure that people understand what they have to do and what they don't have to do when they're talking to us, okay? So as I said before, any point today you feel the need, you want to speak to a lawyer, you let me know, and we can take you to a room where you can do that in private, okay? Is there any reason you want to call a lawyer now?
Nope.
Okay.
These first two attacks happened not that far from my place in Tweed. Well, the second one did.
Yeah.
We didn't even know the first one had happened, but I understand that was reasonably close as well. But the second one was very close.
Yeah.
So certainly at the time, the OPP did a door-to-door.
Yeah.
And within a couple of days, probably the same night, so I spoke with a couple of guys then.
The analysis of vocal intonation is a tricky thing when dealing with interrogations, as it cannot be used as evidence in court, yet intuition would give many the sense that discomposure is emanating from the colonel at this moment. The way he is speaking comes across as slightly nervous and unsure. He would appear to most as being agitated in the manner he is both processing information and communicating his responses. This type of cognitive recognition is a difficult thing to articulate into words, and investigators simply characterize it as gut instinct, which Detective Jim
For cases, for lives shattered. Hearing Detective Smith about the crimes, break-ins, assaults, murder, it's chilling to think Williams was living a double life. The law here is clear. First-degree murder carries a life sentence in Canada, no parole for 25 years. But what hits harder is the violation of safety, especially for women in their own homes. How did no one see this coming?
The different cases. And essentially, Russell, in a nutshell, that's what we wanted to talk to you about, okay? Those 4 cases are of concern to us. And, you've kind of almost hit the nail on the head about some of our issues that kind of make us want to talk to Russell Williams, okay? Because essentially, there's a connection between you and all 4 of those cases. Would you agree? Geographically,
And then I guess I drive past, yes, I would have to say there is a connection, yeah.
The colonel is asked to state his movements and activity over the past 4 days, which is known in forensic psychology as gathering pretext. The detective wants to get an initial alibi from the suspect before the confrontational phase of the interrogation begins. This is the most calm a state that he intends to keep Russell in before he ramps up the pressure, and a more relaxed suspect often results in more detailed pretext, thus more information to scrutinize and correlate with any changes made at a later stage.
Friday on the day, I was Friday on the day I was at home most of the time. Most of the day I had a sort of a stomach flu.
Okay. In Ottawa or Tweed?
Tweed.
In Tweed?
Tweed is a village in Ontario where the colonel had a second vacation home located roughly 125 miles from his house in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we backtrack then. So all day Friday, you're at home.
Yeah.
And then what time do you leave to go to the base to sleep there on the Friday night?
Not sure. Probably just went in for just before bed. So I probably left Tweed at between 8 and 9 or so.
Okay. And you get to the base and spend the evening there and get up for the 5:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So we backtrack from there. When did you arrive at your home at the cottage? I don't want to get confused between your home in Ottawa and the home in Tweed. So,
no, I had been in Tweed all week.
Yeah.
The week prior now. Yeah, I think that's the case. Was in Tweed all week. Flew Saturday. Headed to Ottawa Saturday night.
Okay. So if you didn't have the stomach flu on the Friday, what was your
I think
schedule
it was
that
something
day?
like 8, really.
Okay.
What would have been my schedule? Just a standard schedule in the office.
Okay.
So, office brief in the morning, a couple of meetings. I can't remember what the specifics were going to be.
Okay. So Thursday night you slept at Tweed, or you?
Yep.
All right. And what did you do Thursday during the day?
Thursday during the day, I was at the base again. I think it was a fairly standard day. I can't recall exactly, but yeah, nothing. I was not flying, so I was at the base. So I would have gone in early in the morning, back in the evening again.
Okay.
The method of gathering pretext is then focused on the murder of Marie France Comeau.
Okay.
Now I'm not going to walk you through November, but I'm going to take you to a date that's probably pretty fresh in your mind. The day that Marie France Comeau.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you found out?
I do. Yeah, I was sent an email. Well, as soon as the ops staff and the base learned, they told me.
Okay.
So I got an email. I can't remember if it was late at night, early in the morning. It was certainly, I saw it, I want to say first thing in the morning, because I had just come back from Ottawa. I was in Ottawa for a set of meetings on one of the days. I can't remember what day of the week we're talking about, but yeah, no, I mean, obviously when your people gets killed, it gets your attention.
Problematic element linked to the culpability of Jessica Lloyd's disappearance, and notice how the colonel looks down at his own boots as he gives his response to the following request.
Footwear impressions?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think that's what we're gonna ask you to do.
Okay.
All right. I told you when I came in here that I'm gonna treat you with respect, and I've asked you to do the same for me. We talked about the whole idea of how we've approached you here. Okay, the trying to be as discreet as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the problem is, Russell, is every time I walk out of this room, there's another issue that comes up. Okay. And it's not issues that point away from you. It's issues that point at you, okay? And I want you to see what I mean, all right? This is the footwear impression of the person who approached the rear of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January, okay? Essentially, when you're dealing with footwear impressions, we have a gentleman on the OPP who's basically world-renowned. His name is John Norman. And essentially, with footwear impressions, you're in a situation where you're pretty much in the area of fingerprints, okay?
All of the previous affirmations were fabricated for the sole purpose of heightening psychological pressure. Footprints are not even close to being as indistinguishable nor incriminating as fingerprints.
This is a photocopy of the boot that you took off your foot just a little while ago, okay? Now, I'm not an expert in footwear impressions, so I rely on the experts. Footwear impressions are very much like fingerprint comparisons, okay? You take a look at this print, and again, this is one print. This person walked through, there's several different prints to compare, so we're going to get features off of one print to compare, features off another print to compare. These are identical. Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house. Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January. Okay, you want discretion. We need to have some honesty, okay? Because this is getting out of control really fast, Russell. Okay, really, really fast. This is getting beyond my control. All right, I came in here a few hours ago and I called you the way I called you today because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. But you and I both know you were at Jessica Lloyd's house, and I need to know why.
I don't know what to say. It's
Well, you need to explain it because this is the other problem we're having, Russell, okay? Again, these decisions are made by me. Right now, there's a search warrant being executed at your residence in Ottawa, okay? So your wife now knows what's going on. There's a search warrant being executed at your residence in Tweed, and your vehicle's been seized, okay? You and I both know they're going to find evidence that links you to these situations. Okay. You and I both know that the unknown offender, male, A, on Marie France Comeau's body is going to be matched to you, quite possibly before the evening's over. Okay?
This is where it gets real. The footprint evidence, it's like a spotlight on William's guilt. You can feel Detective Smith's strategy chipping away at his facade. The silence strikes me. The weight of those boots tying him to Jessica's home. It's not just evidence, it's a betrayal of every value he swore to uphold. How do you even process that kind of deception?
Listen to me for a second, okay? When that evidence comes in, when that DNA match, when that phone rings and somebody knocks on this door, your credibility is gone, okay? Because this is how credibility works, all right? And I know you're an intelligent person and you probably don't need to hear this explanation, but I also know your mind's racing right now, okay? Because I've sat across a lot of people in your position over the years, okay? The bottom line is that as soon as we get that piece of evidence that solidifies it, DNA, okay? As soon as the expert in footwear impressions, the expert in tire impressions, calls and says, yes, I've examined those and they're a match, it's all over. Because as soon as that happens, where's your credibility? Where's your believability? Russell, you know there's only one option. What other option is there?
What's the option?
Well, I don't think you want the cold-blooded psychopath option. I might be wrong. Okay, because don't get me wrong, I've met guys who actually kind of enjoyed the notoriety, got off on it, got off on having that label. Bernardo being one of them. I don't see that in you. If I saw that in you, I wouldn't be back in here talking to you, quite frankly. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you got me fooled. I don't know. This is over. And it can have a bad ending where Jessica's parents continue to wonder where her daughter's lying. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a huge search still underway, and it'll continue. It'll continue until her body's found. Once that happens, then I don't know what other cards you would have to play. What are we going to do? Russell. What are we going to do?
Call me Russ, please.
Okay. What are we going to do, Russ? Is Jessica somewhere we can find her easily? Like, is this something where I can make a call and tell somebody to go to a location and they're going to find her, or is this something where we have to go and take a walk? Russ, maybe this would help. Can you tell me what the issue is you're struggling with?
It's hard to believe this is happening.
Why is that? Why is it hard to believe? Russ, is there anything you want from me? Is there anything you want me to explain? Is there something missing that you're struggling with that I can shed some light on for you?
I'm struggling with how upset my wife is right now.
This investigation will end up costing no less than $10 million. Easy. And they will say no to nothing. Any request this major case manager makes on this case, they've already been told it's approved. Don't even bother asking. So what am I doing, Russ? I put my best foot forward here for you, bud. I really have. I don't know what else to do to make you understand the impact of what's happening here. Did we talk?
I want to minimize the impact on my wife.
So do I.
So how do we do that?
Well, we start by telling the truth. So where is she?
Hearing Williams confess, it's gut-wrenching. Jessica was alive for nearly 24 hours, suffering. Marie was ambushed in her own home. As a viewer, I'm angry and heartbroken. The law will punish him, but what about the families? The pain of knowing someone so trusted could do this, it's unbearable. This case forces us to question who we idolize and trust.
Why don't we start with Jessica? How does that start for you?
I saw her in her house on her treadmill. Wednesday night, I guess. And I noticed she wasn't there Thursday. So I got into the house to look around. Then, and then left. Noticed she'd come home. So I went back in. Through the back patio door while she was sleeping.
Okay. Marie France Comeau.
There was an open window in the basement of her house when she was away. I went in there a couple of nights before she came home. Looked around. I went back in there late at night when she was at home. She was on the phone in her bedroom. She actually discovered me in the basement. She was trying to get her cat to come upstairs, and the cat was in the basement, had seen me and was fixated on me in the corner. She couldn't get the cat up, so she came downstairs to try and get the cat, and I'm not more sure why she came over to me. I guess the cat was staring at me, and she was wondering what the cat was staring at. Lights were on. So when she spotted me, I had the same flashlight. I subdued her. Tied her up. Brought her upstairs. And strangled her later in the morning.
Why do you think these things happen?
Oh.
Have you spent much time thinking about that?
About why?
Yeah.
Yeah.